Step out. Ma'am, put the gun down. Put the gun down.
If you would like to learn more about the thought processes that a police officer goes through in their decision to use deadly force, how and when, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so you never miss out on any of my future content. My channel is dedicated to helping the average everyday citizen understand a police use of force, and also to be an additional training source and offer some advice for law enforcement officers as well. Let's jump right in. All right, so here we are. I'm going to show the video uninterrupted, no comments. Then I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to read a website article that gives more of the details of exactly what went down. And then we'll go back and we're going to review it step by step. I'm going to point out the issues in the officer's tactics, in the suspect's actions, and we're going to have a good understanding of this whole thing. And hopefully this can be used as a tool to help people grow in their knowledge of policing. Maybe it'll strengthen a few officers out there in some of the decisions they make, and maybe it'll cause the average citizen who comes in contact with the police to make wiser choices as well.
Here, do me a favor, Trevor.
No, hold
Turn
on.
around.
Don't put me in handcuffs. I haven't done anything wrong.
Ma'am.
No, don't put me
You're about to get tased.
No!
Get down. Get down on the ground. Down on the ground.
I didn't do nothing.
Step out. Ma'am, put the gun down. Put the gun down. 22 shots fired. Shots fired.
10-4, 13, keep outside code 3.
I'm hit.
Okay, that was the video from the officer's body camera, as you can clearly see. Now the second angle will be shown from the vehicle dash cam, the police vehicle dash cam.
Step out. Ma'am, put the gun down. Put the gun down. 22 shots fired. Shots fired.
10-4, 13, keep outside code 3.
I'm hit.
Man, oh man. All right, y'all. Chilling, crazy video. But once again, it demonstrates just how crazy things can be for a police officer. I'd like to read the article so we know exactly what went down and how and why. Metro Nashville police have released disturbing video of a shootout in the parking lot of a Dollar General that occurred Friday morning. East Precinct Officer Josh Baker was on a routine patrol when he noticed a black 2015 Chevy Camaro parked in the store's lot. The vehicle was registered to Demond M. Buchanan, who was wanted on 6 drug-related charges. So the officer ran the plate, and he found that there was a warrant associated with the registered owner. Upon approach, Baker discovered the driver of the car was 31-year-old Nika Nicole Holbert. After initial compliance with the officer's orders, as you can see, she was clearly non-combative from what we can see. Things turned quickly when Baker noticed what appeared to be marijuana and white powder and attempted to detain her. Holbert resisted and began running around her car. She climbed into the vehicle, and even after Baker used a taser and shouted at her to stop rifling through her bag, Holbert continued, eventually pulling a gun and firing at the officer. Officer Baker was struck in the torso, stumbling backwards and returned fire. Holbert threw her gun into the parking lot and sped away from the scene, eventually crashing into a nearby ditch. Baker, who had radio dispatched to inform them that he had been struck, remained down on the ground. Responding emergency crews transported Holbert to Skyline Medical Center, where she later died from her injuries. Baker is currently hospitalized in stable condition. He is expected to survive. This right here is a picture of Nashville Officer Josh Baker. Said he's stable after surgery. 31-year-old female, Nika Holbert, was killed in the shootout. We're going to go back through the video, and I'm going to stop it point by point when I see issues. Now, you may agree with me or you may not agree with me, but I think that this can be an incredible learning tool. Now, one thing I'll say is it may not be a big deal depending on the situation, but allowing someone to smoke and it looks like be on their phone while you're having a contact with them. And once again, it depends on the situation. It doesn't look as if he is considering her to be a suspect. I don't know, but she's smoking and she's on her phone during this contact. I would just have told her, if she asked to smoke, I would have just said, personally, I would have just said, can you just wait until we're done? Hopefully I'll be done with this stop in a couple of minutes and then you can smoke your brains out. And then being on their phone, it's a potential problem because you don't know if they could, if you stop them and you believe that this vehicle is associated with a potential felony suspect, you don't know who they're texting. You don't know who they're reaching out to. So this can be problematic in and of itself because they could be reaching out to that person and or someone else, and who knows the problems that they can bring.
Here, do me a favor, Trevor.
No, hold
Turn
on.
around.
Don't put me in handcuffs. I haven't done anything wrong.
Ma'am.
No, don't put me
You're about to get tired.
Okay, stop right there. Once again, what I say over and over again, y'all know where I go when I'm talking about things like this. 9 times out of 10 times, a suspect who flees from the officer or fights or resists, they're the ones who are most likely to be injured or even killed potentially in a police interaction. Do not resist the police, and you will dramatically improve your chances of surviving. I will say that until I can't say it any longer. But here's a prime example. She began resisting the cops, ran from the officer. You see what happened to her ultimately.
Hey. Get down! Get down on the ground! Down on the ground!
Another thing that I always talk about, another thing that bugs me in police interactions is when you have an officer who's indecisive with his actions. If you are legally and lawfully justified to take someone into custody, they are resisting or attempting to flee for whatever reason, and you decide that force is necessary, then use it and be decisive with it. Don't play around with it. Grab her, put her on the ground. She wasn't exactly the picture of fitness, no disrespect meant. But the problem also that came along with that was clearly neither was the officer. Now, I'm thankful he survived this encounter, but you have this overweight woman running from you and you have trouble catching her. That's a problem. Lord forbid you're in a foot pursuit where you have to attempt to capture a fleeing felon who is dangerous, even more dangerous potentially than she was, or you need to fight for your life and you're carrying around 30, 40, 60, 100 pounds of excess body fat. That's not a good place to be. That is not a good place to be as a law enforcement officer. And all due respect to this officer here, all due respect. But at the same time, you as an officer are expected to protect and serve. And your physical fitness is vitally important. And it shouldn't be played around with and toyed with. But unfortunately, that's more of a reality than not. The sad reality is that I would dare say the vast majority of officers do not take their fitness seriously. And it could potentially cost you your life or cost someone else their life as well. So if you're one of those officers out there who doesn't take care of themselves, do better. Do better for your family. Do better for yourself. Do better for your partners. Do better for the public. Man, I'm telling you, letting someone get back in their car, you were asking for problems. You were asking for problems by letting someone get back in their vehicle. She could run you over. In the average situation, you don't know what that citizen, that suspect has in their vehicle. So you cannot let them back in there. So he tases her. I'm not sure if the taser hit. I think it did. I think you'll see later on where the taser prongs were somewhat effective, that they did connect. But it didn't get the job done. It wasn't enough to subdue her. Low lethal force is not consistently reliable, in my opinion. I found over time that being skilled with my hands, having martial arts skills that I started learning at a young age, has helped me more than any tool that I had on my belt. By the grace of God, I've never had to use deadly force on someone. I've threatened people with deadly force. Thankfully, they complied. But here you have a situation where he attempts to use the taser. If he was in better shape, he probably could have just grabbed her and pulled her out of that vehicle. Let's proceed.
I didn't do nothing.
Now she's got one hand hidden somewhere, screaming for help. And that's partially the society that we're living in now, where people can feel justified to scream for help, even though you know you're in the wrong. But a black woman screaming for help because of a white cop attempting to take her into custody, Lord knows the response that she could have gotten. Somebody could have came around the corner with a gun, with a weapon, trying to act like she's the victim. Sickening. So see right there, the taser is doing something because her body's locking up. But and she's still reaching. This is crazy.
Step out. Bam! Put the gun
Now I can't see her hand, but clearly he does.
down! Put the gun down!
I definitely want to give him props here. He transitions to his gun. But considering what you're dealing with, now I don't know the information that he got about her, but clearly it was enough to where he felt the need to place her under arrest in the first place. So you're in close proximity with the suspect and they pull out a firearm. Man, your decision, you have to make it. That is why we have Tennessee versus Garner when it comes to an officer using deadly force. And this is why the standards have been established for law enforcement, the reasonable officer standard, where the courts thankfully understood that officers are expected to make split-second decisions during situations that are oftentimes rapidly evolving. He was hoping that she would comply and put her weapon down, but we saw how that went.
22 shots fired! Shots fired!
10-4, 13, keep outside code 3.
See right here? Right here at the bottom, she just threw her gun out. For those of you who couldn't see the gun, because it took me a few views in order to see it, Right there, she just tossed the gun out. When we watch the dash cam video, you'll be able to see it a lot more clearly.
I'm hit.
Luckily for him, thank the Lord that she wasn't trying to run him over because he was out of the fight. He was out of the fight. And thankfully, his injuries weren't fatal. Let's proceed.
Step out. Bam! Put the gun down! Put the gun down! 22 shots fired! Shots fired!
10-4, 13 key by
I don't know what his physical condition was after being hit, but he was able to get up on his knees with his gun in his hand after being shot. I don't know why. It could have been that he was just in shock from the incident. But I just wonder why he didn't continue to fire at her. Maybe he thought she was no longer a factor. Maybe he thought she was injured. But I'm just throwing out things that concern me. Could it be that he could have fought through this? Possibly. Could it be that he could have fought through this situation and stopped her if he had had additional training, maybe some force-on-force training? Which brings me back to the point where people want to abolish or defund the police. Obviously, that's an insane and ignorant concept and idea. Those are insane and ignorant concepts. If police agencies are properly funded, they can receive additional training, which can improve their skills, which can improve their situational awareness and their responses in various settings, which will increase the likelihood that there will be less need for deadly force, possibly. But just a few things to think about.
code 3.
Man, I'm telling you, had she had even more evil intent than she already demonstrated, she could have taken him out right there. And he's on his knees and he's helpless. But he's got his gun in his hand. I don't know why he didn't fire. I don't mean to be mean to this officer. I don't mean to come down on him. But I'm just throwing things out there that could that can possibly help us think these situations through. Examine yourself, examine your skill set, and see if there are holes in your game. How would you respond to this? Would you be able to respond to this properly? Now, none of us ultimately know unless we're in that setting, but I'm a firm believer in the power of solid, consistent training and how it can impact us in the most stressful times. There's an old adage that says we don't rise to the occasion, we oftentimes sink to the level of our training. Let me back up a little bit because I wanted to point out when she threw the gun out. I forgot about that.
10-4, 13 key by code 3.
Watch right here. Just threw the gun out.
23, I'm hit.
Man, if you think I'm being too tough on him, write your reasons why in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts and your perspective on this. Personally, I believe that we live in a world where you hear officers always say we shouldn't Monday morning quarterback. Personally, I believe that's a cop-out because self-examination and peer examination is the best way to improve. If officers didn't examine themselves and their own actions and examine each other's actions, we would still be back in the 60s, back using the tactics from the 60s. And there would be lawsuits. There would be even more lawsuits than there are today. The officers have to be willing to subject themselves to criticism in order to grow and improve. But those are just my thoughts. Once again, I'd love to hear what you guys think. If you enjoy this kind of content, where I break down and discuss the issues related to law enforcement and uses of force. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and also share my content. In the meantime, stay safe, God bless, and make sure you join the conversation.